Unanswered questions about Roy Burns. Number 1.
Did Roy steal the Jason mask from Tommy? The most popular belief is that Roy went out of his way to take on the Jason persona. I have a different theory. Hear me out. So we all know Roy's motive. If it wasn't for Joey being chopped up over a chocolate bar, this massacre probably would have never happened. There's a lot of victims in this movie, and I don't think it's coincidence that you never see Roy's face until the climax of the movie. Let's break this down for a second. You never see Roy wearing the hockey mask, despite him killing Vinny, Peter, Billy, Lana, Raymond, the Drifter, Tina, oh sweet Tina, what a waste, Eddie, Dr. Matt, which happened off screen, Grandpa George, Anita, and Demon. You even have Junior and Ethel in there, Jacob, Robin, Violet. So that's 16 victims thus far, and that's not even the total. But these are the victims you see die without seeing Roy's face. Now I'll insert this clip right here that backups this theory.
What is it? In Tommy's room.
Isn't it very strange that when Reggie and Pam find those bodies in Tommy's room, do we finally see Roy wear the Jason mask and the hood? Now you all know Tommy's a mask maker. That's one thing that did carry over from part 4, the final chapter. He still really enjoys his mask. We see that when he first arrives at Pinehurst. So if you think about it, why would Roy give a fuck about Jason Voorhees? My theory is that the Roy mask, aka Jason mask, and that latex hood you see at the end actually came from Tommy's bag that you see right here. I believe that Roy suited up in the jumpsuit, killed these 16 victims, stashed them in Tommy's room, found this mask and this hood, and even these newspaper clippings right here, which is also probably Tommy's. I mean, you know Tommy is obsessed with Jason Voorhees. Even now he's having hallucinations. He's dealing with PTSD, trauma, anger issues. And what better way for Tommy to channel his anger than to put it into what he does most, and what he enjoys the most, making masks. Even though it might be slightly different from what the actual mask was, in Tommy's creative mind he probably just made this up as a prototype, or some kind of variation, to try to recreate this monster in a therapeutic way. I do believe Roy saw this in his room, donned this Jason hood that he made, donned the hockey mask, found these newspaper clippings, 1 and 1 made 2, and then you finally see the reveal of Roy Burns, wearing the Jason mask and the hood. So what do you think, chat? Did Roy go out of his way to pick up these items or make these items? Did he go out of his way to do all this research on Jason to try to mimic the persona? Or did he find an easy outing when he stashed all the victims in Tommy's room and he found the newspaper clippings that belonged to Tommy? He found the latex hood and the mask variant, and that's what he used throughout the rest of the film until his death. So which one is it? You decide.
Number 2.
What kind of therapy treatment has Tommy been given? They're giving Tommy Thorazine? Does Thorazine sound familiar?
What do I give him when we take him in front of the judge?
Thorazine.
He'll barely be able to sit up.
That's the idea.
This man has taken enough Valium to supply Detroit. They even give him shock therapy. That's not to mention the other 19 things on this list. And I would be really concerned because if you look right here, they can't spell what the fuck. Who spells doctor like that? Not once, but twice. You see here too, he's taking an antidepressant. He's taking something for a migraine. They even misspelled continued right there. Something for pain. Darvon compound is 65. They even try to pencil in this Percodan. I would be genuinely concerned of medical malpractice here. Where'd you get your license? A fucking cereal box? I mean, at the end of the day, this is lazy filmmaking. But just to remind you, we can't break the fourth wall of the film. So, we can't blame continuity errors, bad writing, yada yada yada. You've heard this 1,000 times. This generally concerns me. He's also on Ritalin for some reason. Now I knew Tommy was down and out, but damn son, this is rough. I do like how this film does explore some of Tommy's psychological trauma. Matter of fact, some of the Jason hallucinations in this is some of the best Jason you have on screen in the whole franchise. The dream sequence, that's bad to the bone. The hallucination out the window. But my favorite shot of Jason in this whole entire franchise is the end scene right here. Tom Morgan kills it as Jason. I don't understand why he didn't have like a main role in the film. Like legit. That man deserves it.
Number 3.
Is Victor the real reason this massacre happened? I say no. I blame Dr. Matt. This is one of them situations I will put the system on trial. Because what they have going on here, it is the worst idea you could ever possibly have. From the moment you first see Victor, it's not when you're chopping wood, but you actually see him momentarily driving the tractor. Fast forward to Joey being a dumbass over a chocolate bar. I mean, just look at Victor. The reason this is an issue is, for one, question the rules of this system.
We don't have any guards here. Nobody's going to tell you what you can do or what you can't do.
It's an honor system, Tommy.
Basically, you're your own boss.
So this institution has no guards. This is an honor system. Does Victor look like the kind of person who belongs in the honor system? Look at this. I don't think so. This man's enjoying this way too much. This is not how you chop wood. You gotta lay that baby up. But he's doing this because he fucking likes it. Look at him. He's probably over there busting a fucking nut in his pants. When in the hell did he earn the right in this honor system to have the privilege to get his hands on any kind of potential dangerous weapon, like an axe? Victor was a red flag from the jump. Of course it was going to be bad news. So is Victor to blame? Yes. But nobody ever brings Matt up. Dr. Matt is the reason this whole movie happened. Also, I really love this line that Reggie says right here.
Don't think Joey will be joining us this morning, Violet.
Or any other morning.
Reggie's my kind of guy. Those damn enchiladas! When was Grandpa killed? Now, George may appear as a very small character, and in hindsight, he kind of is. We don't get a whole lot of screen time of him, but he seems like a really gentle old man. Now, the reason this intrigues me is because I have the hardest time trying to figure out when he died, because we have a very small window of when it could have happened. The last time we see George is right before Pam, Reggie, and Tommy go see Demon and Anita. But by the time they get back, George is already gone, and Matt's gone. Now, the only context we get about this is from Jake and Robin and Violet when they say this.
Matt's gone. To George, too.
Where did Matt say he was going?
He said he was going to go look for Tina and Eddie.
And where's Gramps?
So we saw what happened to Tina and Eddie, and we know now that Matt left to go look for them. So it makes sense he went off, got caught in the wild, and got himself impaled on a tree that we see later. But what about George? Now, what interests me about George so much is the time frame. So again, the last time we saw him was right before they left to go see Demon and them. And by the time they got back, he was reported missing. So that means George had to been killed on the way to see Demon and Anita, which is so hard to believe because as soon as Pam and them leave the trailer park or the campground with Demon and Anita get killed. So you have a very short time frame that big that he could have been killed. Now, George later gets thrown through the window of Pinehurst, so the body had to have been around there, hidden away so nobody could find him. But that's also crazy, because that means the massacre has already started. So why wait to kill the others? Nobody's there. Dr. Matt's not there, Pamela's not there, Tommy's not there, Reggie isn't there. Right now it's just a whole bunch of teenagers left. So why not go ahead and start your massacre right here? Why follow Reggie, Tommy, and them to go see Demon and wait to kill everybody else? You see what I'm saying here? Now, granted, Roy did space out his killings. The greasers got killed late night. It wasn't until the next day where we see the drifter get killed, and then we see Tina and Eddie get killed, and so on and so forth. But isn't it crazy about old George? He had to have been killed right after they left to go see Demon. I think it's really amazing that this one little off-screen death can pose so many questions. And I find that rule of thumb only works with the George. We know about Matt. We've seen the other victims. George is the only man out. So what do you think? What's your theory? Ooh, baby, ooh, baby. How did Roy have a picture of Joey? I know a lot of people was left pissed off when they watched this because once the killer was revealed, there was like, who? Instead, you actually got to rewatch the film eventually and try to backtrack, try to grab at some material to try to make it all make sense. So let's talk about Joey first.
I never had anything to do, me being an orphan and all.
We get this little piece of information from Dr. Matt on how he's an orphan. Joey's mother died at childbirth. Roy hasn't been around, so nobody knows who the father is.
Mother died while giving birth. I don't know what the hell happened to the father. Took off somewhere, I guess.
But yet, at the end of the film, he has a picture of Joey. Now, that also makes me wonder if Joey's last name was Burns. We know Tucker knows Roy by name.
You talking to me, Sheriff? No, Roy, it's okay. Get them out of here.
So did nobody really put one and one together that Roy was actually Joey's father? Or did Joey have a different last name? Now, if you look up any information about Joey, his last name is listed as Burns. Because in the end credits, it's just Joey. I assume they only put the Burns last name on there because we know that it was Roy Burns' son. So we know Roy as a paramedic, even though he wasn't directly involved in Joey's life, that he did stick around and try to keep an eye on Joey. I mean, it has to be that way. You don't have a recent picture of your son in your wallet if you're not trying to keep up with him somewhat. I actually had the slight idea that maybe they was pen pals, that maybe they did have some line of communication, but Joey never knew it. We all know poor Joey wasn't the brightest of the bunch, so the only way I know Roy could have got that picture, if he didn't steal it from somewhere, is that maybe Joey sent it to his pen pal, and Roy, being a distant father, was using a different name. I mean, we all know Roy does have an act of pretending to be somebody else. Now, I have absolutely no evidence to back this up, but that's the only realistic way I know how to close that gap. Because he has a wallet photo. It's not like a newspaper clipping or a picture he cut out. It's a wallet photo. It's a wallet portrait. But that's my theory. What do you think? How did Roy have that picture of Joey?
Number 6.
This is a big one. And I'm about to lose all credibility here. I believe this theory I'm about to talk about works for this film. But for this film only. When you take into account Jason Lives, this won't work. But for this film, and some people say that this is a standalone film, that this isn't even canon. If that's the case, this theory is going to work. I do believe it is canon, so this really doesn't work. But let's talk about this. Was Tommy a second killer in this movie? Now before you blow my fucking head off, hear me out on this. When I first watched this movie, it doesn't make sense to me for Roy to kill all 16 plus more of these victims by himself. Again, this also only works if we're not breaking the fourth wall of the film. Over 90% of these victims have nothing to do with Roy. They don't cross paths. It doesn't make sense for them to cross paths in this universe. The timing doesn't add up. And this film right here does not shy away of the fact that Tommy is going off the deep end and that he's destined to become a killer. That's kind of the whole point of this movie. Tommy's having hallucinations. The end scene, which we'll get to that in a minute. So let's start out from the very beginning. Tommy has the motive. Tommy has motive to kill almost everybody in this film. Roy does not. Take in mind, like I said before, you never actually get to see the killer's face in this movie until Roy bursts through that door and makes his reveal. So let's go down the list of victims here. Let's start with the greasers. Now to me, this could be Roy or Tommy. Either one of these is going to be target practice for them, basically, just to get a little taste of what it's like. So let's start with Billy. Billy is the one that was helping transport Tommy to Pinehurst. He was also being a very big asshole.
Sit there, I don't give a shit.
That's a direct connection to Tommy, not Roy. And Lana, honestly, was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. You can't leave any witnesses. Lana was destined to go out that way anyway. Now let's talk about Tina and Eddie. Remember this fight scene?
Can't you take a joke?
I'm sure Tommy has more than a fucking grudge against this asshole. For one, he was being a prick. For two, he stole his mask out of his room and was basically mocking him. And you know Tommy already has a short fuse. So after whooping his ass, he's like, hey, you know what? You're not going to get away with this. So he kills Tina and Eddie after they get some and he has to kill the drifter along the way because, again, you can't leave any witnesses. So let's talk about Anita and Demon. Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense for Tommy to kill them, but at this point in Tommy's psyche, this man is bloodthirsty. Even though he was calm and collected, and he doesn't have a reason to kill Demon and Anita, it was Junior who showed up and f***ed up the program. Junior came in, started picking on Tommy again. Tommy whooped his ass, got all hyped up and bloodthirsty again, ran off. That's when Pam and Reggie leave. He stays back, kills them just to let out his fucking burst of anger he had. He had a lot of pent up anger that he didn't get to finish on Junior. So he kills Demon and Anita. Take in mind that we established that George had been killed on the way to the trailer park, which means it couldn't have been Tommy. It had to have been Roy. And Roy being at Pinehurst killing George, it would be impossible for him to be at the trailer park at the same time. Directly after that, guess what? He goes back after Junior. He cuts Junior's head off, and again, you can't leave any witnesses, so he kills Ethel along the way. We can see how messed up Tommy has been throughout this film. The hallucinations, the outburst of anger, even towards the end where he dreams about killing Pam. And then after that, maybe even attempting to kill Pam. Is it really a reach to say that Tommy actually did do some of these killings? Again, this theory only works if you don't consider this movie canon, which surprisingly a lot of people doesn't. So think about it. Roy kills George and Matt. Tommy's on the other end of town, killing Demon and Anita, because that's the only scenario. Tommy doesn't have a car. He doesn't have a bike. Another little filmmaking detail you might have missed. When Tommy goes full on, wacko at the very end, instead of the classic Kiki Mama or Choo Choo Ha, people like to say, the music actually changes. The kill, 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 Tommy, Tommy, Tommy. I'll showcase that music right here. But here's a fun fact. This isn't the first time you hear this music. As soon as Lana gets killed, what's the next thing you see? Tommy looking out the window, having another mental breakdown about seeing Jason. Tommy knows where everybody's rooms are. The victims was found in Tommy's room. Isn't it very convenient that Tommy's always gone when these killings are happening? That's the whole point of this movie. And even when Tommy does show up at the barn to confront Roy, what does Roy do? He doesn't stab him. He gives him a little love tap, a little paper cut on the chest. Because maybe Tommy knew at this point that if he killed everybody, he wasn't going to get away with it. So Roy actually became the fall guy. So what do you think about this long drawn out theory I have? Crazy? Maybe. But man, do the fucking stars align.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason
Voorhees. Why didn't Roy go after Vic? It's very interesting that if you choose to believe that Roy Burns did single-handedly kill everybody in this film, which is the most popular belief, I'm not hating on it, that he would kill absolutely everybody at Pinehurst and go after everybody who might be responsible and who was not responsible and people who have nothing to do with it except for the man that did it. Now I'm sure Victor's going to be locked away and threw underneath the jail, but we know that Roy kind of has ties with the sheriff.
No, Roy, it's okay.
Now I won't think much of this, but just by this scene alone, it seems like they know each other more than just saying, hi in passing. I mean, Roy and Duke is always the first on the scene, at the crime scenes, when the victims are found. So I do believe that Roy could have worked his way into conversation about where is Victor going. This is such a small town, Roy would have known this information anyway. EMTs arrive for criminals before booking all the time. But I don't think it's going to be as hard as you think it might be for Roy to go after Victor. This is why. We've already named all the flaws about Pinehurst. How this bullshit honor system is supposed to be in place where these people in the loony bin, they have no guards, they're their own boss, they can do whatever they want to do, despite being a freaking lunatic like Victor, or just a nice sweet girl like Robin. You really have both ends of the spectrum. Let's take it back to Tommy's doctor report. Not only is everything almost misspelled, they're giving him so much medication that he should be 6 feet under by now, honestly. So it seems to me that this whole town, the doctors, the institution, everything remotely in this area is fucked. Yeah, just look at this playboy. I mean, look at Tucker for God's sakes. He's a dumbass. I'll be real with you. This man is a dumbass. Him and the mayor both. They got their heads so far up their own ass, they look like fucking Fruit Loops. So I don't think it's going to be that hard to go after Victor if Roy really wanted to. And I think Roy knows that. So again, chat, why would Roy kill everybody in the world except for the man that killed his son? Sounds like perfect motive to me.
Number 8.
Was Jason cremated? Now the obvious answer is no.
Jason Voorhees? You're out of your fucking mind. You've been out in the sun too long. His body was cremated. He's nothing but a handful of ash.
Were you there? Did you see him cremated?
But it baffles me how dumb the mayor and Tucker both are. You have this notorious serial killer who wrecked fucking havoc not once, not twice, but 3 times. And even though they claim Jason is cremated, Tucker still thinks that Jason Voorhees is responsible for the killings.
It's Jason Voorhees.
How is Jason supposed to be responsible for this? He's dust. The man can't get it up. He's dust. He's cooked. Literally. Now naturally this can't be true because Jason shows up in the next film. So where did the idea that Jason was cremated even originate from? That the mayor and the sheriff knows this for a fact. That also makes me wonder, since we know Jason didn't get cremated, who got cremated? Probably their dumbass mind.
The who? The her.
What is bro doing when you want to be part of the conversation but also legally 500 feet away? When you're trying to blend in but the pole's got more personality than you do? When you had a good first date but then it says I miss you? When your therapist says face your fears but you want to fear? When he says he likes long walks behind you every night. And 10. What happened to Trish? Now I know this is a common question and I do try to keep these very unique and not rinse and repeat what everybody else is. But I decided to include this one because Trish Jarvis is my favorite final girl of the franchise. And it is a true shame we never got any more of her story. Matter of fact, we only get one little photo of her, which I'll insert that clip right here. This is the only time Trish is mentioned. Now, coming off of part 4, it's truly sad to see that Tommy never did properly recover about what happened. Matter of fact, shit got worse. If you go back to the fucking doctor's report, he's on Thorazine, fucking Valium, he's on this, he's on that, he's on Tylenol, he's on ibuprofen, Advil, Aleve, methadone, methamphetamines, cocaine, angel dust. I'm kidding. He's on a lot of medication, and it's probably not for the better. But even during her absence, it makes me wonder what their relationship is going to be like when she learns that another tragedy happened to her poor little brother Tommy. Now he's now another sole survivor of another massacre. And that's not to mention part 6, but we'll save part 6 for part 6. I would like to think she moved on somewhere and that she's out there living her best life, the best she can. I guess Tommy never really had that choice. Her mother didn't have that choice. And I kind of think it's a missed opportunity to kind of bring her character back in some sort of capacity in this film. I don't mind watching this film. It's definitely not one of my favorites, but I do not consider this one of the worst Friday films out there. Like, I don't. I really love John Shepard as Tommy Jarvis. I love how he's angry, quick-witted. He's a kicking ass and taking names kind of Tommy, and I like that. I love seeing this more adult version, this more rounded and mentally unhinged version of Tommy. So we do get a very different version of Tommy. And I do wish in this film, in some sort of capacity, that we got a different version of Trish, a phone call, an end-scene cameo. But yeah, all we get is this little picture in this tiny picture frame that Tommy looks at when he first arrives at Pinehurst. So what do you think, chat? What happened to our beloved final girl, Trish Jarvis, the GOAT of the Friday franchise? They should have worked her in somehow. I'm saying it now. That's going to wrap this video up, guys. Thank you so much for taking part of your day to kick it with me. You know I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time in Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, part 6. I love you all. Adios.